The story starts off with a blood moon over a night sky. We see a mysterious figure in the up above as they start to materialize in rips of purple matter. A man who is kneeling on one knee looks up at the figure, has tons of dead corpses with battle wounds surround him. The figure reveals their face, declaring to the man on the floor that he is worthy of being called the Sword Emperor. However, his title will be stripped from him when she is finished with him. She raises her left hand, revealing a powerful purple glowing orb. The man who is kneeling wipes blood from his mouth, saying that he shouldn't have let his guard down, but he completed his main objective, so he doesn't mind if he dies now. The man raises his gaze, looking directly at the woman, and dares her to try and kill him. She throws the powerful charge at the man. He stares at the orb, readying himself for the impact, as he can't block or dodge. The attack makes contact with him and creates a huge explosion. The woman smirks at herself, saying that the man was just acting tough in his last moments, but as the smoke starts to clear, she realizes that there is more than one figure in the smoke. She sees a sword glint among the mist. We see another man standing firm, emanating a powerful aura. The man on his knee screams his name, Yan, and thanks him for coming. He looks ahead, apologizing for being late. Redhead tells the man that he will take care of things from here as his sword starts to emit flames. He jumps up into the air. The old man says faintly under his breath that he will be counting on him. As he gets ready to strike the woman, she screams, asking the mysterious man of his identity. He tells her that he is here to cut her. A lunar fairy. "I am the moon-splitting swordsman," he says as he starts descending on the fairy. She is unable to dodge, as the swordsman unleashes a series of attacks in quick succession, making her unable to react. Two dragons emerge from Yan's sword technique. She screams from the blinding pain. The narrator starts talking, explaining that on the day the moon splitter defeated the lunar fairy, 9 strands of sword energy rained down. We time skip to 6 years later. A few buildings are shown in a mountainous landscape. The narrator calls it the Warion Manor. A boy with red hair is seen being violently slapped across the face. First the right, then the left, and he's then slammed to the ground. We can see a woman looking down on the child with a furious expression as her fists are clenched. She screams at the child to stop being weak and get up right away. She questions the boy, asking him if she told him that there would be an important guest at the manor that day. He nervously tells her that she did tell him. She screams at him again, asking him if he is just ignoring her instructions so that he can clean up the backyard thoroughly to make sure there are no leaves. The boy, shaking this time, tells her that that's not the case. She is now towering over him. "You are ignoring me because I'm not your real mother, right?" she asks in a quiet yet threatening voice. The boy insists, saying that he is not doing that. She goes closer to the boy, asking him if she were his mother, and the instruction came from her. Would he have ignored her instructions? He simply says no. She asks the boy if he would have listened if she was his father, who has been stuck in his room for 6 years. The boy's answer remains unchanged. The woman has had enough of the boy repeating the same 3 words and asks him if he is just going to refute anything she says. Her eyes grow wide and asks the poor boy if he is rebelling against her now. She continues with her assault, saying that she needs to teach him a good lesson today. We can see 3 red-haired children watching the fight from a distance. The 2 younger children are toppled in laughter as they watch their mother beating up a small defenseless boy. The child on the left says that the boy is so scared he looks like a turtle as he can't lift his head up. The oldest child just watches them in silence, not laughing or making fun of him, just watching with a face with no emotion. We can see the manor in the far distance. A horse-driven carriage is seen slowly trotting towards the manor. Someone says that although 6 years have passed, the place has not changed much. Another person is surprised they are already close and admits that they are excited to finally meet their father's only sworn brother, Uncle Yon. A voice asks where Nungong is, and we can see a woman with beautiful earrings on. Another person says that she felt stuffy, so she went on the top of the horse carriage. Someone lets out a scream and tells the man that she told Nungong not to do that anymore. We can see a woman run to the side of the carriage. She looks at the roof of the cart, screaming at Nungong to get inside this instant. The other voice just tells her to leave Nungong, as this isn't something new, and she is quite wary of the risks of not sitting inside the carriage. The woman looks back inside the cart, and we can see 2 other men in the cart with her. She tells the older man that he shouldn't spoil her so much, but he just laughs. The other man tells her that she mustn't worry, as someone with her level of martial arts won't get hurt by simply sitting on top of a carriage. He shifts the conversation over to Uncle Yan, who he is excited to meet. He beams with excitement and asks the old man if it's really true he was so strong that a sword emperor such as himself would acknowledge his strength. He puts his hand on his chin and says that Uncle Yan was indeed terrifyingly strong. 6 years ago, the martial arts he used were certainly the most perfect sword arts under the heavens, he says. He thinks back to 6 years ago and admits that if it weren't for Uncle Yan, he wouldn't have been alive. He goes on to say that his 9 Heavens sword technique is certainly able to match up to the Nongong clan's advanced techniques. The other man is shocked by how skilled his uncle is and asks him if he is so powerful, why hasn't his martial arts been made known to the rest of the world? The older man tells him that it's because he is retired and he didn't pass it down to anyone else. He also sees it fit to mention something very important and tells the younger man to remember what he is about to say. He then goes on to explain that Uncle Yun had 2 wives in his lifetime. However, he was especially fond of his second wife, but the second wife unfortunately died after giving birth to a child around 6 years ago. We can see Yun looking down on his dead wife, with his head hanging down. The older man continues, saying that after his wife died, he lost all meaning to live in the world and locked himself in the room his wife had given birth. The older man tells the younger man that their trip today to the manor is to try and get Uncle Yan out of his depressed state, and that at no point can they mention or even reference his second wife at all. The younger man takes his words to heart and says that he will be mindful to not say anything about Uncle Yan's second wife to him. We are back at the manor. A guard rushes over to Uncle Yan's first wife. He tells her that her husband has finally stepped out of his room after 6 years. She is a little skeptical and asks the guard if it's really true. The guard explains that Uncle Yun stepped out his room as soon as he got word that the Nongong clan's horse carriage had arrived in the area, and tells her that he is on his way to recover them as they speak. He hands her a towel to wipe off all the blood from the young child's body. The first wife is clearly irritated, as she says her husband is now only coming out of his room at the arrival of his sworn brother, even when she used to plead with him day and night to come out. Despite abandoning his own flesh and blood for 6 whole years, he is making the effort to receive his sworn brother. She spits out in frustration. She remembers that the child has never actually seen his father before, so she walks up to the boy on the ground and looks down on him with a terrifying face. She asks the boy if he really thinks he is going to meet his father in the filthy state he is in right now. The boy, now looking at the ground, tells the woman that he will make sure to remain unseen. She goes over to her own children and cheerfully asks them if they are all ready to see their uncle. As the little boy turns to hide away as he was told, the child of the first wife watches him walk away with a blank expression once again. His mother tells him that he has a very important task today. She instructs him to be on his best behavior as he is meeting his uncle's daughter, Nongong Yun. She tells him to be as friendly as possible with her and be kind. She tightly squeezes her child's shoulder, asking if he understands his task. He looks at her with a blank expression as usual, saying that he will keep it in mind. The woman and the man arrive at the gate of the manor and meet Uncle Yun. She explains that she is very happy they were finally able to meet and introduces her second child, Nongong Yun. But before she finishes her sentence, they both realize that she has disappeared from their sight. She apologizes profusely as the old man face palms from the embarrassment. Uncle Yun says there is no need to apologize, as she's at that age anyway. Yun's first wife appears and says that their fourth child does also not appear sometimes. She asks her husband if he could introduce them. He pauses for a while and stares at her blankly, before giving in and introduces the people behind him as his wife and children. The first wife introduces herself as Baekmiju. She says that they have all been traveling for a while, and they must come in quickly to rest from the journey. As they all start going through the gate, Baek tells her first child to go and find Nongong and leave a deep impression on her. As the sun starts to set on the other side of the manor, we can see the poor child kneeling down on the ground with his hands in the air. He wonders when the guests are going to leave, as his arms are hurting a lot. His stomach starts to growl, and his eyes start to close from the exhaustion and starvation. He tells himself that he can't fall, as Mom would punish him. It's useless, though, as he collapses to the floor. Suddenly, an anonymous figure starts walking towards the boy and stands on top of him. The boy hears their footsteps and opens one of his eyes. He jolts awake, thinking that the person in front of him is Mother. He starts to scream out that he is sorry and that he fell asleep all of a sudden without realizing. He continues apologizing, expecting a huge blow to the head, but as he looks up slowly, he realizes it isn't Mother who is standing in front of him. We see the same earrings again of the person who was sitting on top of the horse carriage. The boy looks at her with his eyes wide and blushes slightly. It's Nandong-yeon. Two guards are standing at attention outside a meeting building. The second wife screams out, shocked that Uncle Yeon's brother has asked if they want a wedding with their clan. She asks him if he really means it, and says yes, as the Waryeon manor is more than worthy of becoming their in-laws. She puts her hands together in delight and exclaims how joyous news it all is, for her children as well. The older man asks Uncle Yeon and silently looks down for a couple seconds while taking some time to think. He takes a sip of his mug and thanks his brother for his generous offer, but would rather ask the children first what they think of the proposal, as he believes children should get a say in their own marriage. His brother smirks, saying that he agrees with his statement. Yeon goes further on to say that children's lives do not belong to their parents. This gets Baek's attention, catching her off guard. She clicks her tongue, thinking that he might as well say that he regrets marrying her out of convenience. "How dare you say that?" she shouts in her mind. "You don't help at all, while I have always worked hard for our family." She turns to Uncle Yeon's brother and says that their children might take a liking to each other, and he laughs, saying that is also a possibility, as they will be meeting each other a lot more often from now on. So they will get a lot of time to know each other. She turns her head even more and apologizes if she might be overstepping boundaries, but she asks the old man for a favor. He tells her to speak freely. She changes her expression and asks the Nandong clan if they could give some guidance to her son, Mubaek. This leaves the two a little confused. As the woman asks her what she means by that, the old man lets out a loud laugh, apologizing if he may be stating the obvious, but asks the Yeon clan if they don't have their own advanced technique. He goes on to say that this is something he can't decide on by himself. Before he can finish his sentence, Uncle Yeon interrupts. He stands up and asks if he could also receive some help from the Nangong clan as well. This shocks the old man quite a bit. Uncle Yeon stays standing, not saying anything. The old man looks at his brother, trying to figure out what he is thinking. "All right," he says, but he asks Baek if this is the right choice and recommends her to get her son trained in the Nine Heavens sword technique, as it is their own technique after all. Uncle Yeon chips in, saying that his martial arts aren't too difficult to learn compared to the Nangong martial arts. He also mentions that Mubaek has probably already memorized the Nine Heavens sword techniques. The old man smiles, asking his brother if he is lying to him. He says that 6 years ago when he saw the Nine Heavens sword technique, it was a lot more than a simple technique that a mere child could learn. Uncle Yeon replies that currently, he is actually unable to pass down his Nine Heavens sword technique in his current state. He also mentions to his brother that he wishes to tell him about the details later in private. After he stops speaking, he gets a sudden wave of pain and nausea. He starts violently coughing all over the table, and the old man stops drinking and asks Uncle Yeon if he is okay. They all drop whatever they are holding and rush over to him. The old man calls the physician. From outside the building, we can hear his brother screaming at him to wake up. Mubaek is seen taking a leisurely stroll around the manor walls with his hands in his pockets. He thinks about what his mother told him to do, but he can't seem to find Nangong anywhere. He turns his head from side to side as he looks for her. Suddenly, he overhears someone talking around the corner in a rather loud voice. It reveals the people around the corner to be Mubaek's sister and the young man who has just arrived. She swings on his clothes and asks the man if it's true he tracked down his arch-enemy and killed him. He just laughs it off, asking her who told her such a thing. She proudly tells him that she read it in a novel and that he is the Azure Cloud Sword who kills all his enemies. The man nervously laughs, saying that although he is called the Azure Cloud Sword, the part about him killing his enemies isn't really true. Just then, Mubaek starts sprinting in their direction, screaming out to his sister, who is the least bit excited to see him. He bows towards the man and apologizes on behalf of his sister for bothering him. He tells the boy that it really isn't a problem and asks him what his name was again. He tells the man his name is Mubaek, and his sister says her name is Seolju, and he must not forget it. Mubaek shouts at his sister to stop being rude, but she retorts, saying he is just using this as an excuse to scream at her. The man looks at the two siblings and wishes that his sister, Nungong Yun, was as cheerful as Solju. Mubarak puts his and his sister's head down and apologizes for the last time. When he raises his head, he asks the man if he knows where his sister went, as he is trying to find her to introduce himself. The man says that he was actually looking for her as well, so they might as well walk together. He also mentions that he would like for her sister to have friends, so he can do the introduction when they find her. This is when Solju remembers that Nangong doesn't speak. Her brother tells her that it isn't technically that she can't speak, but Solju insists on knowing the reason she doesn't talk at all. Mubarak is getting angry again. The man says that she is a little ill in the heart and that he hopes the two of them making a friend of Nangong will help cure her. We are back with the red-haired boy and Nangong. She looks at him as he stays kneeling down with his hands in the air. He wonders who she is and how she is so pretty. He remembers his mother saying that important guests were arriving, which is why he is being made to stay outside. He looks at the girl who has elegant clothes and accessories, so she must be someone important. He starts shaking at the thought of what mother might do to him if she finds out he has been seen by an important guest. He decides to make a break for it, but doesn't get far before she easily catches up to him and tugs on his collar, which sends him flying into the ground. The poor boy is winded and tries to regain his breath. She looks down on the boy, who starts apologizing and sees all the scars and bruises on his body. She continues to stand over him, saying nothing. Nangong wonders to herself why the boy is apologizing for. She also wonders to herself how the boy is so weak, as all she did was pull him a little bit, but he wasn't even able to react in time. She thinks to herself that the wounds all over his body don't seem to be from martial arts training. She comes to the conclusion from the color of his hair that he is the child of the moon-splitting swordsman, but she wonders why the boy is so afraid. She kneels down to get on his level, and he starts apologizing even more, and loudly. She starts reaching out her hand, and the boy remembers all the times mother would hit him by stretching out her hand. He starts to hyperventilate at the thought of being hit and slapped again. Nangong sees the boy's reaction and begins to understand the situation. She stretches out her hand to the poor boy, who is paralyzed from fear. She thinks about all the hardship the boy had to have gone through for being the reason the moon-splitting swordsman's wife died. She puts her hand on the boy's hair very gently. The boy keeps his eyes closed, as he is unable to figure out what is happening. Nangong starts rustling the boy's hair, and he opens his eyes in confusion. She opens her mouth and speaks to the boy. "What is your name?" she asks, in a gently and quiet voice. The boy responds by saying, "Joka. His name is Yun Joka." She pats him on the head. "Joka, you have nothing to fear anymore, for I will protect you," she says. The sunlight catches the back of her hair as the wind picks up, causing the leaves to rustle around them in the moment. She puts her hand on his cheek as he begins to process what she just said. A tear starts rolling down his small face. Another tear rolled down, and then another. Nangong watches the boy. Unable to control his emotions, Joka starts bawling his eyes out, and tears stream down his face uncontrollably. Nangong looks at the boy and feels sympathy for him, so she embraces Joka in the moment, and reassures the child that everything will be okay. After the boy cannot cry another tear, Nangong takes out her hand, and the boy grabs it. She starts running with Joka in tow. They end up at a wall with a hole just big enough to crawl through, and Nangong looks at him, reassuring Joka that it will be okay. She kneels down and crawls through the hole. A hand emerges from the other side, and the boy takes a deep breath, as this is the first time he is going against mother. He takes her hand and crawls through. She grabs his hand again, and they can be seen outside of the manor. Joka's eyes grow wide at the scene in front of him. They are in the middle of a town's market. They are surrounded by people going to and from places. Some are carrying heavy boxes and sacks. As they walk around, a food stand catches Joka's eye. It looks like meatballs on a stick with hot coals under the rack to keep the food nice and warm, as the smell emanates the plaza. Joka tries to ignore the stall, but Nangong saw how the boy was staring at the food. She smiles and looks at Joka. She goes over and buys 3 sticks, holding out her hand with gold coins. He takes a big bite of the meat and stops walking to properly taste the flavor, as it was nothing like he had eaten before. Nangong continues to just smile over at the boy as he divulges into a world he knows nothing about. A little time later, as the duo walk, a huge shadow is casted over them. She looks over at who it is, and 3 big men are standing with their swords by their waist. It's the manor's guards. Joka starts to shake again. Nanggong readies herself for what's to come and locks hands with the boy. The sun has now set and the moon is high in the sky. The old man asks Uncle Yan if he is conscious again after fainting at the meeting. He looks at his brother and asks him if he was worried for him, and he responds by saying that he was worried half to death. He asks him what the moon-slashing swordsman is doing in such a weak state like this. He responds by saying that he has nothing to say for himself, as he can't even take care of his own body, let alone other people's. The old man tells Uncle Yan to stop talking and just get some rest so that he can recover quickly. You should get your energy back, at least for the sake of your clan and children, he says. The old man tells Uncle Yan that he has sent word that their clan's feast is conveyed through the 9 heavens wise woman mirror. Uncle Yan says that he can't see anything through the wise woman mirror anymore because of the disappointment of seeing how pathetic their eldest son was. He looks out the window and tells his brother that the day the woman disappeared from the mirror, that was the day his second wife died. He explains that as she left the world, she left behind a child who resembled him. He admits to his brother that he never had the courage to see his own child, not even once. I felt that I would resent it, despite knowing that it wasn't the baby's fault she left the world, he says. He asks his brother if this makes him a pathetic human being. The old man doesn't answer the question and tells Uncle Yan to stop talking, as he isn't used to seeing him so weak. Uncle Yan shuffles onto his headboard to sit up. He talks in a soft voice and tells his brother that he will leave his final request with him. His brother is insistent that he just needs to lie down and he will start feeling better. Uncle Yan ignores his brother's request and looks down, asking him if it would be possible if he could leave his children to his care. The old man shouts at Uncle Yan, asking him how long he's going to keep talking in this way. He calmly says that they are just poor kids who were never even able to receive the love of their own dad. He begs his brother to just do this one thing for him. The old man stares at his brother, who is in such a weakened state, and tells him that he will do what is needed from him. We are at the manor and can see Lady Back and the woman from the carriage waiting for their 2 kids. The guards come rushing through the gates, declaring that they have found the escapees. The mother of Nanggong rushes to her child, asking her nervously where she has been this whole time. She asks her if she is hurt anywhere. Baek watches the mother as she dotes over her child so she can copy it, as she doesn't really care too much what happens to Joka, but she wants to look like she is a proper mother. Nanggong's mother looks over at the child and asks where his parents are. Just then, Lady Baek pulls off a 5-star performance and rushes to Joka. She holds him tightly, just like the other mother was, but as she does this, Joka begins to shake uncontrollably. Lady Baek asks him if he is hurt anywhere and tells Joka how sad she would have been if he went missing. She turns her head to look at Nanggong and thanks her for finding her dear child. But Nanggong ignores everything she says and just stares at her intimidatingly. The moment is broken up, though, as the Azure Cloud Sword comes running in to see if Nanggong is all right. He pats her on the back and says that he thought she climbed onto the roof again. This is when he notices that Nanggong is holding the hand of the red-haired boy on her side. Mubarak is standing behind everyone. When Nanggong turns around, he starts going red in the face. He also notices that the 2 are holding hands, but once again, he says nothing and just stares intently. The Azure Sword tells everyone that the kids look tired, so they should just bring them inside first. As the 2 parties separate, Joka and Nanggong's hands are ripped away from one another. Nanggong and her family start walking in first. Nanggong looks sadly at Joka, as she knows how he is being treated by his mother. Once they are gone, and it is just him and Lady Baek, he starts to shake even more. She looks over at Nanggong and asks Joka what his deal with her is, and that he won't ever be able to see her again. We time skip a bit and can see a few events unfold. In July of that year, Uncle Yan eventually passed away in his sleep, as no one could wake him up. So, in order to solve the absence of the eldest son after Yun Muryong's death, his second wife, Baek Miju, called in the 20 warriors from his home, the Baek family, to the Crouching Dragon Estate to keep it secure. The warriors from the Dragon Estate eventually became known as the White Tiger Squad. To take the place of Yun Mubarak, who left to train in the Nanggong clan, Uncle Yun's first wife, Baek Miju, unquestionably became the owner of the Crouching Dragon Estate. We are now in the present and can see 6 members of the White Tiger Squad lined up outside a house. We hear a loud scream coming from inside one of the buildings. Lady Baek can be seen throwing books around a room in anger, as one of the guards rushes in panting. She turns around, asking the man if he found what she was looking for. He looks down, saying that they looked throughout the entire manor estate, but they were unable to locate any martial books that the eldest son left behind. Lady Back throws her hand back and fires a book at the man's head. She screams that that's impossible, as a girl told her that there would be something related to the feast inside. She yells at him to put everything related to Uncle Yon in the storehouse and to make sure she doesn't see any of it. The guard goes on all fours and tells her that they will get rid of it straight away. He turns around, instructing all of them to start gathering in the front of the main building immediately. Lady Back stops the man, though, and tells him to also put the brat in the storehouse. She looks over with a threatening expression, asking the man if he has any objections. He takes a big gulp and says he objects nothing. Gioka starts screaming at the guards to please spare his life as he is being escorted into the storehouse. One of the guards pushes him through the doorway and Gioka's body hits the ground. The man tells the boy that the storehouse is now his one and only room. The guy scratches his face, telling the kid to not hate him too much, as he is just doing his job to make a living. Gioka shivers on the floor, begging them to save him, but they don't listen to him and say that there is nothing they can do. The guard closing the door says that he is at least with his father's last few possessions, so he can think of it as honoring his father's death. The boy watches the door slowly close behind him. The room goes dark, and a bitterly cold wind sweeps throughout the room. He senses something from behind him, but when he turns around, Gioka doesn't see anything. To keep as much warmth as possible, he crawls into a little ball against one of the walls. He thinks to himself that he is so scared and wonders how long he is going to be forced to stay in the small storehouse. As the sun rises on another day, we can see the poor boy asleep on the floor. He wakes up to a loud thud on the wall. He watches as a hand comes through a trapdoor and puts down a tray of water and a potato. Gioka starts shuffling to the food, wondering if the food is meant for him and that he is so hungry. He takes a bite of the potato and complains that the food tastes bad, and the potato feels as hard as a rock. As he stares at his potato-flavored rock, he sees a gleam of light coming from his dad's stuff. He puts his potato down and cautiously walks over to where the light came from. He sees a flash of light again and starts to pull back the boxes. The boxes topple over to reveal a huge jade-colored mirror. He gazes at the large object in front of him. Gioka looks a little closer and realizes that he can't see anything inside the mirror and thinks that he will need to clean it at some point. He wipes it using his sleeve and sees his own reflection. He puts his arm down, but his reflection doesn't move. Gioka sees this and his eyes grow wide. The person he sees in the mirror isn't his own reflection. He takes a step back from the fright and screams from shock, begging someone to save him. We time skip a few months in the future. The two guards stationed outside Gioka's room are chatting about the weather and how it is only getting colder day by day. One of them say that they feel a little sorry for the kid, being out in the shack with no protection from the elements. The other guard asks him if the kid is even alive anymore, and he tells him that the kid is definitely alive and kicking, since he can still hear his screams coming from the shed every once in a while, and the food tray that he puts down in the trapdoor always comes back empty. The other guard says that if he were in the kid's shoes, he probably would have froze to death ages ago. He commends the kid on his ability to survive for so long despite his situation, but the other guards respond by saying that he doesn't think the kid has much time left, as the food trays he has been giving him for the past few days have come back with the potato intact. They both stare at Gioka's shack with the dead trees surrounding it and the snow-covered floor that used to be dirt. We can see Gioka lying against the wall, trying to stay alive by keeping all his body heat close. He looks up to see his reflection getting his attention in the mirror. He breathes out, telling the reflection that he is already annoyed and he doesn't even have the energy to be scared of the reflection, so he should just stop trying to get his attention. The reflection just stops and stares at Gioka through the mirror. The kid goes and grabs a wooden stick and waves it in the air for Gioka. The reflection starts to do weird movements with the wooden stick, and Gioka wonders why his reflection is dancing suddenly. He thinks the kid is just acting out now, because he doesn't have enough energy to give it any attention. We can see a range of movements from the reflection, and this seems to catch Gioka's eye, as he seems to remember the movements from somewhere. He suddenly gets a flashback to when Mubarak was in a martial arts lesson, and they start performing the fundamentals of the 9 heavenly worldly technique. He looks at the reflection and tells himself that the kid is performing one of the moves from the 9 heavenly worldly technique. He wonders how the strange figure in the mirror knows such a thing. He gets another flashback to when the instructor starts telling Mubarak that if he is able to control his energy a certain way and emit it using his sword, he would be able to create a large gust of warm wind, even in the midst of deathly cold winters like the one he was in now. He rushes over to get something resembling a sword and finds a wooden post. Gyoka stands in front of the mirror and starts to copy all the movements of the reflection. The boy in the mirror looks annoyingly at Gyoka. He sees this and tells his reflection to pay him no mind, as he is not copying him because he wants to. He is only doing it as a form of survival. After a day of practicing the same movement over and over again, he is able to emit a warm gust of wind inside the cabin. Gyoka, feeling warm for the first time in months, lets out a huge smile. He does the movement again and says that whenever he just follows the movements of his reflection, he is able to create a gust of warm air. His reflection gets his attention to show that they can emit flames from their body, but Gyoka laughs nervously, saying that he doesn't have to go that far. He tells the kid in the mirror that he isn't trying to learn martial arts from them. He just simply wanted to learn the technique so that he didn't have to feel cold anymore. He starts walking away and throws his stick in the air, saying he won't need the reflection anymore since he knows how to create warm gusts of air whenever he wants. Gyoka looks back at the mirror and wonders if he should just cover it now that he doesn't need the movements anymore. But as he looks back at his reflection, the kid has started doing strange movements again, but this time it's different. Gyoka comes to the realization that his reflection might not have taught him the entire technique, and maybe just a little bit of it. Gyoka sweats a little bit, telling the reflection that he already stated he doesn't have any interest in his techniques. Who would want to follow something that looks so difficult and annoying? Gyoka says, annoyed as he looks at the kid in the mirror. His reflection doesn't take no for an answer, and instead, he pulls a funny face to insult him. Gyoka takes the bait and grips his sword tightly. He starts squeaking at the mirror, asking the reflection if they think he isn't learning the techniques because he won't be able to. I can copy movement like that instantly, Gyoka screams, as he looks at himself through a mirror. The seasons have changed, and it is now spring. Gyoka can be seen practicing a technique in his room. He lets out a sigh of exhaustion, thinking to himself that the techniques and movements he is doing now can't be compared at all to the ones he first learned in the cold winter. As he finishes one of the techniques a little early, his reflection uses this to brag and creates a huge explosion with his sword. Gyoka just watches his reflection, speechless. As his reflection laughs at him, he annoyingly admits to himself that he can think of no way to progress anymore, since he has been stuck on the same technique for weeks now. He throws down his sword and sits in protest, complaining to the reflection and asking them how he is supposed to copy an insanely difficult technique like the one he just demonstrated. He itches his nose, mentioning that he only gets hungrier by training with his reflection, and if he never gets out of his shack, everything that he learns is meaningless. Gyoka thinks about the techniques he is learning, and the techniques he saw Mubarak learning in the estate training ground. He comes to the conclusion that his reflection is definitely performing a martial art related to his family's one, but he wonders how the mysterious person in the mirror knows so much about it. Gyoka confronts his reflection, asking them if they aren't leaving out any useful information while he learns the techniques. He shouts at the kid, asking him why his movements aren't as smooth and sharp as his reflection, even though he is copying him exactly. The boy in the mirror lets out a cheeky grin, and Gyoka responds by saying that if he is going to keep acting petty, he is going to just cover him up and never look at him again. Gyoka proceeds to drape a cloth over the huge mirror, only leaving a little gap at the bottom as the cloth is not big enough. The reflection goes to the bottom of the mirror and signals to Gyoka that he will show him the techniques he is asking for. He grabs the cloth and takes it off the mirror and tells him that if he is lying, he will never look at him ever again. His reflection puts his hand up, pointing to the top of the mirror. Gyoka watches as words start to appear at the top of the mirror. He instantly realizes that the texts are the manuals for the 9 heavens' true eternal technique. At that moment, exactly 900 texts start flowing into the mind of young Gyoka as if it was flowing water. After he goes through the text, he comes to the realization that the martial art he has actually been learning is the one and only, revered Nine Heavens Master Sword. In other words, the Heavenly Inquisition sword technique. We can hear Jioka's inner monologue from his future self, as he starts talking about how he ended up in the situation he was in now, and how he was fated to die a cold and painful death during the winters in his shack. But his unfortunate circumstance led him to a fateful encounter with the Nine Heavens Wise Woman Mirror, and the fate of a child who was certain to die began to change immensely. The secret technique that couldn't be passed on after Uncle Yon's death slowly began to pass itself down once again. Since Joka was stuck in his room the whole time, he had the privilege to focus all his attention into learning the Nine Heavens Master Sword. We get a time skip and can see Joka meditating on the wooden floorboards. A powerful aura starts emanating around his body as his reflection watches him, silently. The boy darts forward in a flash. The dust around his body starts to swirl around from the sudden disturbance in wind flow. He chuckles a bit and proudly explains that he has finally copied the technique exactly, but Joka looks a lot older. It has been 10 whole years that he has been trapped inside his shack. 10 long years. The scene starts off with a horse-drawn carriage arriving at Luoyang. The carriage arrives in the town. The wheels stop spinning and the door swings open. Mubarak steps out the carriage and tells himself that it has been 10 whole years since he was last here. His mother barges out the door and screams her child's name. She compliments her son on his appearance and how it looks like he has become a fine-looking and strong young man. His brother and sister turn the corner and are happy to see their sibling again after so long. Mubarak smiles softly, looking forward. He bows down to his mother, announcing that he has finally returned after completing his training after 10 years. His mother can't contain her excitement, and she gives him a big hug, blurting out that he has become so manly. Now that you are back, Waryong Manor will become the strongest clan in the whole of the Henan province, she boldly exclaims. She looks around her son and sees that others have also arrived. She sees that they are from the Nunggong clan and briefly recognizes them from their last meeting 10 years ago. She apologizes, saying that it has been a long time since she has reunited with her son. Mubarak's mother remembers the man as being the Azure Cloud Sword and tells herself that he has also become a lot stronger in the past 10 years. She looks over at the person by his side who is revealed to be Yun. Mubarak's mother compliments her on her good looks and tells her that she has become completely unrecognizable since back then. Everyone would look like a withered flower when beside you, she tells the beautiful young woman. She allows everyone inside, telling them that she has prepared a lot for the guests, as she knows that they are all tired after such a long journey. As the Azure Sword walks in, Mubarak's mother asks about his father and if he is still in good health. He smiles, telling the woman that his father is still alive and kicking with a healthy heart. Yun suddenly becomes a bit uneasy and starts to swivel her head around. She starts walking away from the group, and the old woman asks Princess Yun where she is going. The Azure Sword screams at the young woman, telling her to stop being rude and come back inside. The woman simply smiles and tells him that it's okay if she wanders around a bit. It looks like her illness hasn't been cured yet, though. I'm a little worried about her, she says. The Azure Sword actually corrects her, saying that Princess Yun has gotten a lot better from where she was. Mubarak's mother is delighted by the fact and waves it off by saying that everyone just looked a bit tired. After everyone is inside the building, she slithers behind one of the guards and gets his attention. She tells the guard to inform everyone that the brat, Princess Yun, cannot by any circumstances get near the warehouse where Jioka is being held. She must be looking for Jioka, the old woman says out loud. How persistent. She still remembers him after 10 years. This is when the guard nervously admits something to the woman. He cautiously tells her that when he went to check on him last night, it was very quiet, so he looked throughout the entire warehouse but couldn't find the boy anywhere. This is when he saw a hole in the ceiling, which he suspects Jioka made to escape. Mubarak's mother heart drops as the guard breaks the news to her. She doesn't hesitate to grab the poor man's neck and borderline strangles him, demanding to know more. We get a flashback to before Jioka made his great escape. He is training with his wooden stick. A gust of air appears as he prepares to swing his sword. He breathes out and makes a slashing motion, slicing the air and breaking all the wooden objects around him. He shakily plants himself, saying that he has finally succeeded in his training. He throws his fists in the air, boldly exclaiming that he has finally done it perfectly. He looks behind him to the mirror with the boy in it. Gioka asks the boy if he saw that he did the technique perfectly for the first time, and the figure claps proudly. He tells the boy that he has also memorized all 900 words he showed him through the mirror. I was surprisingly able to get past the parts I was stuck at, he admits to the mirror. He asks the figure if he can teach him anything more, but the boy doesn't respond. He simply points his finger to something above him. Gioka looks up and sees a hole in the ceiling. He admires the sun as it lights up his dark and gloomy room that he has been in for the past 10 years of his life. He drops his stick in amazement. Gioka jumps from one box to the other, getting closer to his freedom. The boy in the mirror simply watches Gioka with a proud-looking smile on his face. He feels the air and says that it feels so warm. He grabs the ledge with one hand and levers himself up. Once he is finally completely out, he looks ahead, seeing everything that is before him. A beautiful town surrounded by a stone wall, with the sun peeking its head as the day comes to a close. Doves fly in the air as Gioka tries to take everything in. He looks ahead, saying how pretty everything looks. Gioka looks down at the mirror to tell him what he sees, but when he looks down, he comes to find out there isn't anyone in the mirror anymore. It's just a boring normal mirror with no mysterious boy inside. He doesn't say anything, but silently thanks the figure in the mirror for helping him perfect his sword technique over the past 10 years. We are now back to the present and can see Mubayek's mother open the door of the now empty warehouse. She looks inside, hearing nothing but the wind flowing inside the old cabin. She notices the hole in the ceiling and wonders how it got there. A hole in the ceiling? Did lightning strike it or something? She asks herself. The head guard tells her that he will send out a pursuit squad right away, but the woman tells him to not bother. Why would we bother trying to find an ungrateful brat who ran away from the clan that fed him? She asks herself as she grits her teeth in frustration. Mubayek and his mother are having a conversation about Gioka. He asks his mother if it is really true that Gioka left home. His mother says that he is correct. He ran away 3 days ago, and we have sent out countless search groups around the town to search for him, but we haven't been able to find him yet, she says while lying through her teeth. Mubayek tells her that Gioka wasn't the type to run away from home. She brushes it off by saying that Gioka must have just been excited to be able to see his older brother after such a long time, and didn't know how to react when they would meet after 10 years. No one can tell what's going on with him since he bottles everything up, she says. Mubayek is not convinced, and asks her if she is telling him the whole story. But Princess Yan walks in, interrupting his questioning. He asks her why she isn't at the dining hall with her brother. She doesn't respond, and instead activates one of her abilities, while staring deep into the eyes of Mubayek's mother. The woman tries to reassure Princess Yan, saying that there is no need to worry too much about him, as he is at the age where most children run away from home from time to time. The young lady doesn't say anything, and instead just silently listens to the old lady yapping. We can hear the princess's internal monologue as she looks around the room. She recalls Mubayek's mom saying that Gioka ran away from home 3 days ago, but the blanket and furniture don't have a single speck of dust on them, almost as if they were just brought out hours ago. Apart from that, she sees the spider webs at all the corners of the room and comes to the conclusion that there has never been anyone living in the room they are all in. So, if this isn't Gioka's room, where is he? She wonders to herself. The woman once again says that they are trying their best to try and find Gioka, but the princess doesn't want to hear it and does a full 180-degree turn before walking out. She grits her teeth, trying to keep her composure in front of her son, asking him if she always acts like that. This is when Mubayek once again asks her if Gioka left home. Are you sure something didn't happen? I have never seen senior sister act like that without any reason before, he asks with a little drop of sweat rolling down his face. He explains to his mother that Princess Yun has an ability called the Flower Telepath. It allows her to read the selected person's mind. If senior sister takes an interest in something, she will definitely resolve it. So if someone like her is giving off murderous intent, there must be a good reason for her doing so. She glares at her son, asking him if he thinks she killed someone from his tone. He looks away, saying that that's not what he is saying, but if she were telling the truth about Joka, Princess Yan wouldn't have walked out the door and disrespected her like that. His mother finally reveals her true colors, saying that it is true that Joka left home, but he never stayed in the nice room they are currently in. Since he has never seen his own father's face before, I made it so that he could stay with his father's keepsakes. With this information, Mubarak figures out exactly where Gioka would have been before he ran away. He lands at the entrance of the warehouse and sees Princess Yon standing at the entrance. This is a surprise to him, as his mother never told her where Gioka was. She simply explains that the warehouse is in the most secluded part of the Waryong Manor, and there were also many escort warriors guarding the place. She turns around saying that she will have to report this mistreatment to father. Since you are father's student, I won't spread the information to the outside world, but I guess Waryong Manor and our family's relationship won't be the same as it was before, she tells Mubarak. He tightens his grip, realizing that he will now have to live, walking on thin ice with the Nongong family. We are now with the man of the hour, Gioka. He is amazed by how much has changed since he was last in the town's market. He accidentally bumps into one of the people walking the opposite way and starts to apologize, but when he turns around, he vaguely remembers the man as being one of the guards who threw him into the warehouse so many years ago. Gioka tries to get a move on, but the man stops him, asking Gioka for his identification. He tries to carry on walking, acting like he didn't hear him, but the man keeps trying to talk to him. Thinking about how it was in the warehouse compared to the town, he never wants to end up back there again, so he starts sprinting towards the town's gate. The man doesn't take the disrespect and pursues the poor boy, telling the civilians around him to grab the child. He picks up the pace as the gate starts to fall down. But just as Gioka thinks he has gotten away, the man catches up in an instant. "Hey kid, did you really think you could run away?" he asks, intimidatingly. Gioka doesn't give up hope and gives everything he has to get through the gate before it falls. The man keeps up behind Gioka. However, he isn't able to slow down in time, and the heavy steel gate starts falling down on the man. He screams, as there is nothing he can do to slow himself or the gate down. But as he opens his eyes, he is gobsmacked to see the runaway boy holding the gate up with one hand, as if it was made out of air. He apologizes to the man for putting him in danger. "I just didn't want to get captured again," Gioka says admittedly. The man nervously laughs, telling Gioka that he wasn't trying to capture him, just following him to the gate to escort him out. This is music to Gioka's ears, and he thanks the man for the kind gesture. He drops the gate after allowing the man to get out from under it. As the boy runs off, he wonders to himself if he is dreaming.